Over the last weekend, I spent a decent amount of time at the Kilroy event, dabbling with my camera, like I do. People tell me I'm good at photography, and maybe they're right, maybe not, but either way, I do enjoy it. Let me show you something. This is one of the first 10 photos I ever took with my very first DSLR. This photo sucks. Everything is wrong with it. But that's what happens when you pick something up and try it for the first time, especially if you're doing it on your own. I think you know where this is going. I think that part of Kilroy's ills possibly came from Kilroy's original excitement. Everyone was pretty optimistic. The trouble was that it's impossible to do something right the first time without beginner's luck, and the more complex the attempted activity, the greater amount of luck is needed. Kilroy's luck ran out at several points for various reasons. Based Mama privately messaged me at one point saying, "Give me your honest, 100% unbiased opinion." A lot of things were said in that conversation, but at one point I did say something to the effect of, "Hey, I think that people have donated money to this, and while you may not be able to fulfill the original dream of Kilroy and give them perfection, you can at least give them something." A smart person would have pocketed the cash and vanished, or at least just cut and run from the dumpster fire of idiots on social media trashing Kilroy for cheap likes and clicks and super chats. Instead, she did her best. She hired an event coordinator, which I and others suggested she should do, and she got the Mythicists Milwaukee guys involved. She turned the ship around and ran it straight into the storm. I think among other things that's called character and tenacity. There were plenty of smart people that did in fact cut and run. Think of her what you will, but she has my respect for taking the hardest path available and coming out the other side. While the haters took the easy road of talking trash from their armchairs behind microphones and screens, she took the harder road of making something a reality. Now, my role at Kilroy was ancillary. I was mostly behind the scenes, and I did not do all that much. I didn't do nearly as much as the others. I just helped in some small way. I deserve no credit for anything good that happened over the weekend. That victory belongs to others. I wish I could have and would have helped more, but personal life disasters have kept me tied up more and more as the year has gone on. If you look at my upload frequency, I feel like that's rather obvious. I was not a speaker, nor was I an attendee. I was just rather an unhurried observer, if you will. I wasn't around for everything, but I did get some solid chunks of time to observe and talk with speakers and attendees alike. Here is what I observed. The resort was amazing. I saw the new contract a while back and it looked good, but I had no idea everything would be so nice. I was at the W Hotel in Dallas a few years ago, and honestly it wasn't anywhere near as nice as this resort. And my perception is that the W is supposedly a nice place. The people were awesome. Yes, I met some A-listers, and I met some wonderful gems like Rubber Dorky, Joaquin Machado, and Repzion. I could have spent days talking with these three guys and been perfectly content. Rubber Dorky and I spent a decent amount of time together, and I consider him to be a very genuine, earnest, and sincere individual. Machado is very soft-spoken in real life, and yet he is very powerful to listen to about the events unfolding in his country. Repzion and I, of course, talked cameras and travel, which are two things we're both very fond of. The speakers I was able to catch were exceptional. C.H. Summers was fantastic, as was Roaming Millennial, although she did trigger Rucka at one point during her speech. At this point, I would like to give a shout-out to the haters and losers who were at home, angrily drinking alone over the weekend. To you, I say thank you. Thank you for making this event small. You see, Kilroy felt like a VIP meet and greet event, not just the meet and greet session, but the entire event. I got a few minutes to have a rather rich personal conversation with both Peter Boghossian and Clay Rutledge about the nature of original sin in the intersectional mindset. A friend of mine ended up sitting next to Dr. Boghossian for 2 hours at dinner and having quite an extended conversation with him. I got to chat with Mundane Matt throughout the weekend, and he's every bit the energetic conversationalist that you'd expect. I spoke with Rucka Ali for about 45 minutes as well, and this might shock you, but Rucka is actually a very serious and sincere person in real life. I mean, I expected him to be hilarious, which he is on his channel, but in person, I was treated to a very engaging conversation on the nature of objectivism and Randian philosophy. Rucka is an incredibly deep individual, which someone had mentioned to me before I met him, and I found it to be true. Of course, I met the YouTube saints, Zarathustra's Serpent, Bunty King, Roaming Millennial, Dreadmere, and Sean Freychek, and so many more. Everyone was incredibly upbeat, kind, and accommodating. People got real FaceTime with these speakers, not 45 seconds of hi, how are you, okay, selfie, and okay, who are you, next. That wasn't the case. If the conference had 1,000 attendees, I could see the speakers being constantly mobbed by people, and they were not. There were real personal conversations that happened between speakers, attendees, and so on. Now, to address the whataboutisms and gripes, no, Kilroy was not perfect. Things went wrong. No, there was no wall. We did have a ball pit. If you're complaining about the last 2 items on my list, then you are a small enough person to fit in the ball pit. If you're a first-time organizer or event creator, it's really easy to take bad advice and not know that it was bad advice. I was always against things like the NDA clauses and non-doxing moves to limit media creation at the event, because after all, this is a room full of content and media creators. Fortunately, when certain people left, these bad ideas left with them. Some people joined after things got bad, and you know what? Kudos to them for jumping into a hot mess to try to put out fires and make things get better. That took guts. The Mythicist guys were amazing because they brought experience and order to the situation, and they have my utmost respect for that. They were around a lot, behind the scenes and on scene, and to my eyes, they were not only making things happen, but they were also having a lot of fun. I know one individual attendee went with what I would call a very bad attitude and a very negative outlook. To my observation, he looked angry or irritated a lot of the time, and generally just stayed away from others. I believe he had an agenda, and he's friends with people who rather dislike Kilroy, but, to be fair, I know he got to talk personally with Based Mama and the other organizers. I hope that he has a more balanced and fair viewpoint after those conversations, and at least has a slice of reality from both points of view. I think something that I can also address is the fact that some people are complaining that this was a vacation for various YouTube personalities, and Kilroy picked up the tab. This is the way I view that. These YouTube personalities spent a lot of time building a platform and a following. Kilroy was essentially saying, hey, will you do something for us? Will you bring your followers to us? This is asking these YouTube personalities and speakers to do something for Kilroy. And to be fair, it's fair that these speakers would be compensated for that. As for a vacation, they seem to be working an awful lot by hanging out with fans and creating content and doing what it is that they do. Additionally, this was not really a private vacation because anyone could have attended Kilroy. Tickets were on sale up until the very last minute, and anyone could have taken advantage of the deal that Kilroy was. And what of the drama, the live streams, the this, the that? I would say the following things. The conference happened. It wasn't perfect, but it was good, amazingly good, considering all the BS that was thrown at it. Generally, the people running their mouths about the conference so far have 2 things in common. 1, they didn't go, and 2, they didn't help. Other people worked very hard to make this what it could be. It was a far cry from the original dream, which was probably a bit unrealistic, to be fair. In the end, I don't think Kilroy was what everyone wanted, but it was the best anyone could do. And you know what? It was something. It was something that a lot of someones did at great personal costs. You can raise any number of whataboutisms, but in the end, someone did something. Someone made something. Very few people paid attention to the very hard work of what I estimate to be a small group of less than 24 people. My advice to you is to give little credence to the people talking about the event who weren't there. Find people who were there and talk to them. Ask them questions, get their perspective. People with third or fourth hand information and huge opinions are going to be plentiful. Talk to the rare person, the person that actually attended, and I think you'll have better insight into the event. I am hopeful for Kilroy going forward. I hope the Mythicist guys stay on. I hope more staff are added and some changes occur. I think some changes would actually be very helpful for everyone. I hope that more people join as both speakers and attendees for next year. I'm certainly game for it, should my situation and schedule permit it. In the end, I'm glad I was there. It was a far more positive experience than negative, and through the hard work and tenacity of a very few, very dedicated group of people, we can certainly say, yeah, Kilroy was here.